I'd like to talk a little bit about my approach to leads and solos. First off, to look at the lead simply, it's like certain melodies and scales, and those are interchangeable. Sometimes you want to just play scales, like if I went, or I could make it into more of a melody. Playing basically the same simple scale, but just trying to add more of a melodical content to it. I think that melodies should be stressed in lead playing. For example, what Hendrix did, he always had kind of a melodic content to his leads, which really set it apart from just typical scalar type lead playing. You'll have him play all these beautiful melodies such as So as we were talking about chords, where you have the inner workings of the melodies, the same will apply to your leads, and they will be in direct correspondence to the chords that you play. So if you're doing all that kind of changing on the guitar, the same thing can apply in the leads. So if I wanted to play a certain lead thing, I could also change some notes. I could change a little more. A little more. So what I was doing there was basically going from E to F to A minor. And I put that into guitar where I stay in the E pt.I position and then go into an E major into A minor. The approach is to kind of weave in the different scales together, and you can change them all up, and then all of a sudden you end up with something quite interesting. If I was to think of like a D minor with a B flat and an A, like. So what that was comprising of was A minor with a B flat also with D minor. If I wanted it to change the chords, they could be. And all that would correspond with the lead. So I like to carry the idea of lead playing, which comes out of the chords and the myriad changes of those dominant and recessive melodies in the chords. You get the lead ideas, and then where do you take it from there? What I try to do, I'd like to talk a little bit about the conceptual thinking behind leads. So how do I try to create a solo concept? And honestly, what I usually do is in staying in the frame of mind that you're playing for enjoyment, you start experimenting. You just kind of let happen what might happen. When something sounds good, if you hit something, if you're just sitting there, you know, I'm going to try to just like think of something that would, like, and I've never really done that exactly. And that would be enough to spawn me into kind of thinking about it. Out of that comes something else. So the idea is to just take one step at a time. If you just think of one note and then think of another note, and then you think of the way you approach it, and then try to think of a different angle on it, and that will give you 2 different ideas, which will give you 4 ideas and 8 ideas. And it takes practice, and you have to kind of be patient with yourself. So as something sounds good, if it's worth chasing, then I like to keep working on it to make it better. So I would maybe just work on that until, I don't know, whatever. That kind of thing, where I just kind of, you embellish it, you let it, you don't worry about not having something really great in the moment. It's like it'll happen naturally if you you just kind of be patient with it and hang out with it and just see where it takes you, that kind of thing. So one thing, as I'm doing that, I try, again, not to think about being limited by what I already know or what I think at this moment that the guitar is supposed to do, because we all can get hung up in the parameters of an instrument, and the really great artists, such as Wes Montgomery or Jimi Hendrix, or there's many of them, but they usually allow themselves to think freely in that creative spot, to where they don't think, well, what is this supposed to do? They think, what could I do with it? And so that's the beginning of allowing yourself, and that coupled with patience, you can just see what happens, and you might really be surprised. So I'd like to now talk a little bit about the basic techniques that I implement, kind of recapitulating a few things that I like to do when I'm thinking about leads. The parameters that I will use, of course, is that single note line, that kind of thing, and the multi-note type, chord type leads, like this can, of course, be fourths or fifths. Or it can be fourths. It could be fifths. Thing that I like to try to use are the three types of string stretching again. So you have the positive string stretching, and then there's the semitone. There's also the one I was talking about that I like to do, where I stretch the note and then I pick it. Another one is the recessive dominant technique, which is the use of dynamics and which note you put more emphasis on. Like instead of going, instead of just doing that, it sounds better to. What I'm doing is just taking certain notes and putting more punch to them. I'll exaggerate so it makes more sense. Certain notes recess, other ones dominant, and you can change the whole feel of it by which one you put forward. Like say I did a mirror image of that, it'd be like, so you can change by how you do that, and that's a good thing to work on.